Yo, guys, what's up, and welcome back to the Marvelous Chats podcast. This is episode 108. This week on the podcast, we're going to be talking about Ahsoka episodes 1 and 2, which aired on Disney Plus this week. Tonight on the cast is myself, Finto, and Alex, aka Zebrewolf. If you're listening to us on any of the podcasting apps, hop over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Marvelous Chats, if you want to be part of the conversation live. Anyway, without further ado, here we go. Yo, what's up, dude?
Hey, buddy, how you been?
I'm a good dude. How are you?
Busy week.
Hell yeah, dude. I feel you. I've got a couple of days coming off now in a few weeks, and really just again, I only took some time off maybe a month ago, and I'm already looking forward to more time off. So it's just the way it goes. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah, like I'm only looking for maybe one day in September. I'm gonna try to save up some time, but I'm really excited to be basically getting more pay and basically doing the same thing that I did before. One of the things that's a perk right now that I need to kind of submit after we're done with this is I need to spend at least $250 on office supplies because
What?
yeah, because apparently during COVID, the company that I'm working with now is basically squashing that policy. Um, so my boss is like, "Hey, make sure to spend 250 on office supplies or something because that policy is going away this
Oh,
year."
okay, I got you. It's kind of like a last expense, like it won't be around next year, sort of thing.
Yeah, because it's based on like work from home, but they're not
Gotcha.
going to force me to like work on site or anything. He's just like, just spend it while you can.
Let's hope another pandemic doesn't hit,
Right?
because they'll
Yeah.
just have to reactivate it all over again.
Exactly.
um, yeah, like, did you just, I suppose, let's just dive straight into Ahsoka. I don't know how long this conversation is going to go. It could be the full podcast, might not. I don't know. Anyway, what did you think of it? Talk to me.
Uh,
I can't remember. Are you a big Star Wars fan?
n-
Like, you like Star Wars, but you wouldn't be like diehard or anything. Am I right?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan or anything. I think it's a fun show. I think there's a lot of it to be admired, but other than that, like it's not really my cup of tea. I'm very much like a comic book kind of person or even like an anime kind of person, but that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate shows and movies when they're good. So when it came to the show, I was pleasantly surprised. I was thinking like, okay, so they changed up the directors. They have new story writers. They have like different effects. They have a different direction that they want to go with this. This is something that's much more like interesting in terms of like what they want to do with like the other extended stories. And I think they did a pretty good job so far. Like the first two episodes doing pretty well. Like it's not like capturing me like 100%. I think there's a couple things that might need a little bit of work, but other than that, like it feels like a Star Wars show.
Yeah,
It doesn't feel like a show. Like it
yeah,
actually feels like Star Wars now. It feels like something that we really need to understand or appreciate. So when it came to like the first showing of like Ahsoka and the fact that like there were lightsaber duels, there was a moment where it seemed like Jedi were going to board a ship, and then it turns out they're not Jedi. It's like kind of it's really interesting stuff. Like, okay, so there's different people that exist that are not Jedi or used to be Jedi or are Sith, and in this case, it's not necessarily Sith. It's like somewhere in between because their
yeah,
their their lightsabers are orange. Um, and
exactly. Yeah,
so I think that this is like a really good take on everything that's going on so far. I think this like if you were to put past, Kenobi, Andor, some people really like Andor, but like I really couldn't get into it.
I
It,
I
it was it was
I
hard.
don't want to talk about Andor.
Yeah, yeah. Like I don't even
Andor really
remember
upset
what
me.
happened to be honest.
Yeah, yeah,
But
Andor
like
was not good.
they were right when they were saying that like the lightsaber fights that you would see in the first two episodes would just eclipse the amount of fights that you see in the sequel trilogy. Because holy crap, we got to see a lot of lightsabers pop out and just
Yeah,
going ham. The choreography felt good. We saw that one type of lightsaber that like opens on both sides and has like a ring in the middle, or like a like
yeah,
a
it's
like a
like
guard.
an Inquisitor.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that was my
they're,
assumption was that,
they're like
but I
Riva
loved it.
and the other people from like Kenobi and stuff. Like this person is an Inquisitor as well. So it's very interesting. Go on, keep talking. Sorry, I'm trying to
No,
think
no,
of
you're
everything you're making points of. I'm gonna try and answer them all. But go on,
Yeah,
please
you're good.
keep going, keep going.
But it was one of those moments where like you could tell that they were having fun with the choreography because by the end of that fight, like I know it was in the second episode, correct?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Yeah. So by the end of that fight, like just because they finished their mission and then that they had to get going, it's not like he was like, well, we gotta fight to the death. It was literally like, well, I gotta go now. And he just fucking
yeah,
spins it and just tosses it. And then like at first you think like, wow, he just like threw it. And then like he pulls it back and it's like, oh shit. And that was
yeah.
like really cool. That felt really nice.
That was one of my favorite moments of the whole episode, or of the two episodes combined. I'll call it the whole episode because it was like one viewing. But
Yeah.
yeah, like when she kind of just did the little tilt to the side just to like miss it. It was
Right.
like the Star Wars version of like cool guys don't look at explosions.
Right.
That's what I kind of thought when I was like, oh my god, that was so badass. Like she just kind of flinched, like she just kind of flicked it, like let it pass her as if she didn't give a fuck. She's like, yeah, nice try. It was
Yeah.
so good, man. It was so good. Like, what would you give the first two episodes out of 10? I know like we shouldn't really be scoring the season until it's finished, but like even just episodes 1 and 2 as a combined, like where would you kind of where would you score? Where would you place it?
I give it like a solid like seven each.
Mm.
They're not like fantastic. I think it's like it's writing. It's like I said, it's writing after all the other crap that we've seen. So it's like my expectations are a bit low at the moment.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So,
yeah.
but
And
it's
that's absolutely justified. That's fair. Like, there's been so many Disney Plus projects as in its entirety that just haven't been great. And like this show, for me, this show is definitely a step in the right direction. You've got Dave Filoni, who trained under George Lucas before George left and sold it all, and it all changed. He was kind of the last person to truly work with George. And I like, and like many Star Wars creators out there, like all kind of think that Filoni is kind of the son of the god sort of thing. Like, like he is the one who imparted all the wisdom. Like, you know what I mean? So he is following George's like footsteps, and kind of you get the idea that he's actually trying to tip the hat to George, pay tribute to George. And even just like the way the show opens, like for the first time we get like a credit roll at the start, like the text rolling at the start, and I was like, oh my god, this feels like Star Wars already. Really liked this the composing of it, like all the music in it was
Mhm.
kind of, again, felt like Star Wars. And then we pan out into space and it's a spaceship, and I was like, this is Star Wars as fuck. It just felt so good. Even like the first 10 minutes, I was seeing like nods to like the prequels where Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon come into the ship at the very start of episode 1, and now this is kind of like the polar opposite because they're dark Jedis. And I just loved it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, like RIP to Ray Winston, you know what I mean? Like he even we've only just seen him for a little bit. We've probably seen him on screen for maybe 15 minutes altogether, and he's just put on a show so far. Like it's been great.
Yeah.
It's just sad to watch it knowing that he's gone and he hasn't been able to see the kind of fan reaction coming from it now. But like, you know what I mean? Like he's definitely a Jedi who was around like during Order 66. He's a 66 survivor, and basically, yeah, like you can see it in him that like he's trying not to kill people, but he won't let people get in his way, sort of thing. So you know what I mean? Like he seems like he's rational in a way, but he's not taking any shit. So he's not full blown Sith, and he says he's not a Jedi, which is why the lightsabers are orange, as you say. So it's kind of like Mace Windu. Mace is kind of like a mix between red and blue, which gives him the purple. I know,
Right.
funny enough, he turned to George Lucas and was just like, "Can I have a purple lightsaber?" And George like was kind of like, "I can't really say no to Samuel L. Jackson," so it's like, "Yeah, we could probably give you a purple one." And then they kind of wrote it into the story that like he devils into the dark side a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, so it kind of they tried to make it make sense in the universe, but I feel like that's what like Dave is doing here. And like I think when the first trailer came out, like people were saying it straight away, like, whoa, those lightsabers are orange. And
Mhm.
like Dave said in an interview, he was like, I didn't think people would catch on to that so quickly. And it was like some of the very first posters for Star Wars back in 1977, you could see Vader's lightsaber was a little bit orange in them. So he was like, it was kind of like he was paying tribute to that.
Mhm.
And I think people are kind of putting it like, they're adding two and two and they're kind of figuring out that like this dude must be a Jedi. And like we've seen it in later trailers where he's talking about, everyone in the order knew who Anakin Skywalker was, but few lived to see what he would become, blah blah blah. So he was obviously around during 66. I suppose my question is, because I would have thought the way that the trailers were kind of portraying it, I was thinking that maybe he went to the other realm or whatever you want to call it, or the other galaxy, and then maybe just came back. But it's like he doesn't know what, like, from watching the first two episodes, I feel like he doesn't know what any of this stuff is. It's all brand new to him because, like, he says it in the thing. He's like, I thought this was a children's story that they tell in the Jedi temples, and it's like, so he hasn't been there. So it's like, my question is, I'm asking straight away. I'm like, well, then where the hell has this dude been for like the original movies and everything, and the timeline up
Right.
to now? Because for anyone who doesn't know, this in the timeline is after episode 6. So you know what I mean, like timeline's kind of funky in it as well. I don't know if you noticed that,
Oh
but
yeah, it's a little bit.
it's like I heard some people talking like they think that perhaps the events of this show will happen and then she goes to meet Luke after. So like where we saw Luke in Boba Fett might actually be after the events of this show, which kind of makes sense, I suppose. But at the same time, I don't know if you watched Rebels or not, but in Rebels, they did the very last scene of Rebels
Mhm.
is Sabine going up looking at the painting on the wall, and then she turns around and Ahsoka's there, and they kind of recreated the last scene of the TV show in live action. So they're kind of tying the last episode of the show into like the end of episode 2 of this show.
Mhm.
So episode 1 of this was actually a prequel to what happened at the end of Rebels, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's cool, but like it's kind of all over the place,
Right.
and as well, like in the animated version when Sabine turns around, uh, Ahsoka's wearing all white, but in this one she's wearing kind of gray, as we know her in this. So I'm kind of like, why was she wearing white in the animated series? And like again, like Dave created the animated series, like it's his baby, like. So I
Mhm.
find it hard to believe that that's a continuity error that slipped through Dave's fingers. I wouldn't imagine so. I'd imagine he probably watched the first cut of that and go, we need to re-edit that, like, because she was wearing white in this scene, not gray.
Mhm.
I'd be shocked if that was a continuity error that slipped through the cracks of everyone involved in making this show, because like this show is basically being considered Rebel season 5. You know what I mean? So it's like
Right.
you got to pay attention to what came before. I would hope. But look, yeah, like I think the way that they're pacing the show is a little slow, and I think it's for people like my girlfriend who hasn't seen Rebels and never will. Like she doesn't know who any of these characters are, so I think it's very clever the way they're kind of slowly introducing some of these people to people who don't know.
Mhm.
So I have seen a lot of people kind of not giving out, but kind of commenting on the pacing of the show, and I'm looking at it from like a kind of newbie standpoint, and I can see that it's like, okay, we need to be introduced to her, we need to be introduced to Sabine, we need to be introduced to everybody, like, because a lot of people have never seen these people before, you
Mhm.
know. And it's
But
cool,
we
again, for anyone who may not know, but Hera is actually played by Ewan McGregor's wife in real life, so
nice.
which is pretty cool. So Obi-Wan Kenobi's wife is in this show.
Well, like I think that in terms of the pacing, like I can agree it's a little bit slow, but at the same time, I'm wondering if that's the kind of what they're trying to do in terms of the previous movies and like maybe a couple like maybe like one of the shows. In terms of like it being like nearly an hour long per episode, they have time to explain everything. They have time to kind of bring everything to light or even give way to emotions such as when we hear the music going on, like when you hear that music, it's very good music, like it's very comfortable and in times like emotional. You get the feeling that like whenever you're talking or whenever they're talking amongst each other, like the music is still playing in the background, you could feel
Yeah.
that
That's
Star Wars feel.
that's real Star Wars, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like Star Wars is primarily about the music. Like John Williams like is what kind of made Star Wars. I
Well, it's
think I think if you go back, and funny, anyone who's listening to this or watching us here, like go back and watch, I think you can get it on YouTube. Watch the original trailer for Star Wars in 1977, the first one, A New Hope. You'll see it's Star Wars, but there's no John Williams music in it. And it feels so weird. It's so weird. So when it doesn't have the actual Star Wars music, it doesn't feel like Star Wars. It's weird. And like the dialogue in Star Wars has never is like, Star Wars has never been famous for being like, um, dialogue driven or, amazing actors or any of this
Mhm.
stuff. Like, you know what I mean? You're not thinking of it like a Martin Scorsese film or anything like that. Like, the dialogue has always been kind of funky. The movies are aimed towards kids because they are kids films, like no matter what.
Right.
So you can't kind of go into a show, and I think that's why some people like Andor, because it's like, oh, this is a story driven, TV series, and it's more like, adult, and it's about politics and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, fine, that's fine, but that's not why I tune into Star Wars. I'm not watching Star Wars for that. If I want to watch a fucking story driven like series on, like, I'll watch Breaking Bad or something, like, you know what I mean, like, or I'll
Mhm.
watch like an epic show. I don't really come to the Star Wars universe for that. Like, that's not where I get this feel. Like, I want to see Jedi, I want to see the Force, I want to see space battles, and Sith and everything. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see what makes Star Wars, and it's not people sitting in Republic bases having conversations, like, and we have to wait 5 episodes to see a stormtrooper, like, during the rebellion. It's like, it's weird. I don't
Yeah,
know,
they
bro.
like I remember too, like I think it's in one of the Matt Groening shows where they had like a parody of that, like they had Star Wars, but it was like all just political shit. So like you
Mm,
see that like they're or it could have been Family Guy. I could be wrong. Like those
Probably
two
Family Guy. Seth
yeah, those
MacFarlane loves Star Wars, like, so
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was Family Guy.
Well, I think so does Matt Groening. I think he's put quite a bit of stuff in there as well. He even had
Yeah,
Mark Hamill in
true,
as
true,
himself.
true.
So I think it was like the joke where they're like talking within the Senate, and then all of a sudden an AT-AT comes through, and then you think like some action's gonna go on, and then the AT-AT's like sits down, he pulls out a paper because he has to wait his turn.
I don't think I've seen that. If you find what you're talking about, like, DM it to me or something, because
Oh yeah,
I don't think I've seen it. I don't know what you're talking about. But
yeah, because
anyway,
they do a roll call. Is
oh
from what I
god,
remember. They do a roll call in the Senate, and then like the AT-AT comes in, and I think I'm pretty sure it's Family Guy now.
yeah,
Peter comes in. He's like, "Oh, great! Now we're gonna see some action." He's like, "You must wait your turn." He's like, "All right then," and he sits down and he pulls out the paper and puts on some glasses.
yeah. I know Family Guy did like an actual trilogy of Star Wars movies. Like, they
It's pretty
literally,
funny.
they're amazing. I love them. I actually own them all on DVD. Like, I bought them when they first came out because, like, again, being a massive Star Wars nerd as a kid, it was just so funny to see somebody who you can clearly tell by how they made those movies that they were that's, Seth MacFarlane is a Star Wars nerd. He knows those movies back to front. Even like when, like, Peter uses the hand line where he says to Luke, like, where Luke's like, I got him, and he's like, don't get cocky, kid. And like Peter Griffin just goes, he's like, Chris is like, I got him. And he's like, don't get penisy, kid. Like, you know what I mean? It's like he knows the lines, even, like, that's how much he knows it, So it's funny. It's funny. If anyone hasn't seen it, like, I think the first one's called Blue Harvest, and I can't remember the names of the other two, but it's
Mhm.
literally episodes 5, 6, and 7 in the Family Guy world. So it's very funny. Um, what did you think of? It's just, I know you made a comment about the lightsaber fighting. So what did you think of the lightsaber fighting in the episode? I think first fight is Ahsoka versus the assassin droids. Like, she fights like 5 assassin droids on the planet where she got the map from.
Yeah, are they all
Like, she's
considered
cut. She's like,
HKs?
yeah, and she's like cutting the holes underground. They're all falling under and all. I was like, that's fucking cool.
Oh yeah, it really shows how much she's grown as a Jedi. I mean, it really depends. Like, does she consider herself a Jedi in this sense?
No, not really. I don't think. And like, in Rebels, she leaves the Order,
You're right.
and when you see, or sorry, in Clone Wars, she leaves the Order, and then in Rebels, she comes back and she's kind of like a dark, like, she's kind of like a, not a, she's like a gray Jedi,
Yeah,
and
like neutral.
yeah. So in the original stories, I believe that she was in, um. So they when Disney took over, they kind of changed the way that the whole lightsabers work and stuff like that. Like, where it used to be kind of your connection to the Force determined what color your blade was. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So the crystals were all kind of the same, and you would have a blue one depending on what type of Jedi you are. If you were evil, if you were a Sith, you would have a red one. Or the Sith, I think, needed to make synthetic crystals. They couldn't get real ones, so they had to, like, kind of make their own. Whereas in this version, you could bleed the crystals. So what Ahsoka did in Disney's version of Star Wars is she killed her first Inquisitor, and then she took his crystal, or I think he had two crystals because he had like a double bladed lightsaber, and she took his two crystals and healed the crystals instead of bleeding them. So I think in the comics they go over when Vader gets his red lightsaber in Disney, and basically what he does is he actually hunts down a Jedi, kills the Jedi, takes his green crystal and bleeds it red. So he just like infuses it with like Sith energy, like, and that turns the blade red. Yeah. So I like I sorry, the first I mixed it up. Ahsoka's action wasn't the first lightsaber action in it. It was actually the Dark Jedi on the ship when they just like were like, you know, started slaying everybody in the ship. That was pretty cool as well. So we got to see like the orange lightsabers in action, which was great. Um, but yeah, I'm loving it. I'm loving it, man. I really am.
Oh, me too.
What if this new galaxy has its own Jedi Order? I love this. So I haven't even talked about the new galaxy yet. So I was gonna get there. So I'm gonna come back to this question, Inferno, if that's okay. But basically, where I wanted to go next was, yeah, just before we get there, because that's kind of towards the end of the episode. So I kind of want to cover that last because there's a whole lot of theory we can go into there. But
Right.
what did you think of Sabine with her lightsaber? So I don't know. Again, have you seen Rebels? Do you know the story of like Sabine and stuff? She's a
N
Mandalorian. Sabine's a Mandalorian and
I did
all this
some
stuff.
skimming on the lore.
Yeah,
So like I vaguely kind of understand who she is. I know that she's a Mandalorian.
yeah,
Um, so and like she is friends with Ezra, and that's about as much as I remember. Um,
yeah.
I know that
Sh-
like I knew that he was gone. Like that was one thing that I remember was that he was gone. But I think I might need to just watch like the entire two series, like both Clone Wars and Rebels, just so I can catch up on all of the lore.
That's a lot of episodes, bro. That's a
Might as
big. That's a
well.
big. That's a big trip. Go for it. Go for it.
Yeah,
I
well, like I work from home, so like all I could do is just leave it on the side and just like either watch it every now and then or listen and just like pause
yeah,
during
yeah, yeah,
fights if I'm like really busy.
yeah. Yeah, I like to listen to podcasts and stuff while I work. I wouldn't be able to like watch something because I just wouldn't be able to keep focus on it. So I'd find that I'd be missing way too much. But
Mhm.
yeah, basically, Sabine is a Mandalorian. At one point in the show, if I'm not mistaken, she actually is the rightful holder of the dark saber. I think she actually wins it in combat.
Yeah.
And then
She
she gives it to Bo-Katan, if I'm not
yep,
mistaken.
she hands it straight to
Um,
Bo-Katan and she's like,
yeah,
I don't know if I'm worthy. And she's like, well, you should take it.
yeah.
You're supposed to be the rightful ruler of Mandalore.
Yeah, so again, I find it interesting that like that whole story has happened, and there's probably a lot of people watching this show that don't know anything about that. They're like, "What? She had the dark saber? What the fuck?" So like, I wonder, will they actually kind of? I wonder, like, will there be loads of flashbacks or even references to the show, like the animated show, because there's going to be a lot of people that just won't watch it.
Yeah.
Um, and like it feels like there's a lot of stuff going on in the background that wasn't really mentioned in the show, and it seems like we have a bit of a gap in time. So like Sabine and Ahsoka fighting, for example, I kind of feel like all that's kind of happened off camera and we don't really know what's going on. So I presume, I hope that there is a kind of flashback episode where we find out exactly what's going on.
Which would be nice, considering
Fingers
that
crossed.
yeah, I mean, because like we would like to see. I'm pretty sure most people would like to see what kind of training Ahsoka gave to Sabine, considering that Ahsoka never finished her training in the first place. But it sounds like
Yeah.
Ahsoka managed to finish her training on her own.
Well,
'Cause
if you ever watched Tales of the Jedi, did you ever watch that? The
no,
mini animated series. So watch that. So there's like 3 episodes in that are all revolve around Ahsoka, and I think it's episode 5, which is like a very important one. I actually, after we watched I watched episode 1 and 2 of Ahsoka by myself, because my missus was away, and then
mhm,
when she came home at the weekend, she was like, "Oh, I want to watch the show." I was like, "Let's do it. I'll watch it again." So I watched it 3 times. Oh, sorry, I watched one episode 3 times, but I watched the two of them twice. And straight after the show again, she's not into any of the animated stuff or anything. So I actually threw on episode 5 of Tales of the Jedi because I was like, I think this is very important, and I think you need to watch this because I think you need to understand the relationship that Ahsoka and Anakin had together, because I think it's going to be very important to the show. Like, we
right.
know Hayden's going to be in the show. I don't know how he's going to be in the show. I don't know if it's going to be flashbacks or if he's going to be a ghost or something, but he isn't going to be in the show at some point in some capacity. So I was like to my missus, you need to see this. So it's only like a 7 or 8 minute clip, and it's fantastic. It's basically she's doing some Padawan training in the temple, and like she's going up against a lot of remotes and stuff and droids, and she basically just slays the competition and like kills all the droids. And
Hmm.
everyone's impressed. All the little Padawans are like, "Whoa, she's so good!" and all. And like Obi-Wan's like to Anakin, like, fair play, Anakin, your apprentice is great. And then Anakin says nothing, just gets up and walks away. And Ahsoka runs after. It's like, "What's wrong, Master? What's wrong? I passed the test." And he's like, "That's an easy test. Anyone can do that." And she's like, "But that's the test they give all the Jedi." And he's like, "That's the point." He's like, "Everyone gets this. You need to be better." So then he's like, "If you want a real test, I'll show you a real test." And basically puts her through a test where she's like in a circle, in the center of a circle, surrounded by stormtroopers. They have their like blasters set to stun. And
Right.
she's like, "Defeat all these guys, and then we'll talk." And then she, like, you see her doing it for months and months and months, and she's practicing. And basically, that training that he gave her is the reason why she survived Order 66, which is just fucking poetry, bro. It's beautiful.
Right.
So it's amazing. So even Anakin, like, without knowing, gave her the knowledge to survive his attack on the Jedi.
Yeah.
So it's fucking epic. It's epic. Um, but yeah, highly recommend. I think there's a section on Disney Plus for anyone who like doesn't really know anything about Ahsoka. I think there's a section on Disney Plus if you go into the Star Wars section, like Ahsoka's essential episodes, and I think it goes through all of her best bits from Clone Wars and Rebels. So like that'd be a good little I'd say it'd be a couple of hours realistically, but you could probably bash out all those episodes in like 4 or 5 hours. So I don't know, if you've nothing to do during the week before the next episode, might say go and check that out because
Yeah, just get them knocked out.
like in Rebels season 2, she fights Vader. It's fucking ridiculous. Like it's so good. Like some of the Clone Wars, like Clone Wars sees the best parts of Anakin 100%. And I think Ahsoka as well is such an incredible character. But if you don't watch those shows, you don't really know how good she is.
Mhm.
Like you're just kind of like, who's this alien girl that has two white who has two white lightsabers? Like, a lot of people just don't know who she is. So it's kind of like this character is fucking important to everything that's going
Right.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's epic, bro. It's epic. I love it. What did you think of Sabine fighting the Padawan Dark Train? I can't think of her name. Shin?
Yeah.
Shin?
Yeah, I can't remember. Shay?
I think it's Shin.
Is
But
it Shin?
basically,
Okay.
yeah, they have this lightsaber fight, and I'm kind of thinking like, okay, it's kind of cool. She's doing like some kind of flips and stuff. She's like throwing her legs around and all. She looks kind of cool. I loved like Sabine's hair, it looked deadly and everything. I hated when she shaved her head or cut her
Mhm.
hair. So it's like, oh, it's so stupid. But anyway,
Oh, wait, Sabine?
it's when Sabine cut her hair at the end of the second episode. I was just like, ugh,
I mean,
that was awful.
didn't she have short hair during Rebels?
Yeah, I think so, but I thought her hair looked deadly, so I didn't want her to cut it. But
Yeah,
obviously, it's
I
to go
it's
into the helmet quicker, and stuff. So,
well,
but anyway,
it's probably for good measure as well. I don't think Mandalorians should have long hair in general. Like they
true.
need to make sure that they have nothing that can possibly stop them from getting hurt. So like
True.
imagine having long hair and then you get into close quarters combat with someone and you try to escape and all they do is grab your hair and go like, "Yep, I got you," and then they cut your head off.
Yeah, but I think if
So
you're weak enough to get caught by the hair, like you're
yeah,
you're
but
you're not you're not
dude,
good enough,
dude,
bro.
dude, it
Qui-Gon
doesn't
Jinn had long hair. Anakin had long hair. You know what I mean? Like all these,
right.
all the big badasses had long hair. Like let's be real.
Yeah,
If
that's
you've
true.
got, you know what I mean? Like I don't think the hair should be what gets you killed. Like if it is, you're not good enough. Simple as.
Just going by zombie rules. Don't want to
Yeah,
have long
yeah.
hair.
I know exactly where you're going, dude. I know exactly. But what did you make of her getting stabbed? Because I know this has been
Oh,
a kind of a big topic in the Star Wars community of debate.
oh, really? What's the issue
Well,
with her getting stabbed?
everyone gives out because it's like, in episode 1, Qui-Gon, who was a Jedi master, dies from getting stabbed in the chest with a fucking lightsaber.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then,
He got stabbed in the chest. She got
well,
stabbed
no, he got
like on the
stabbed in the
side.
middle, but again, yes, you're right. But then like Reva gets stabbed twice as well, and like she survives. So I think a lot of people are kind of like, oh god, everyone could just get stabbed now and they're fine. Now I watched a video earlier of Star Wars Theory breaking it down, and he was like, if you're going to get really technical about it, when Maul stabbed Qui-Gon, it did look like he kind of got stabbed in the center, so maybe it severed his spine, and like the lightsaber was actually in him for like maybe 3 or 4 seconds, so it'd be like cooking him alive from the inside.
Right.
Whereas like Sabine got stabbed like once very quickly, and it does look like it's quite over to the side as well. So like obviously I
Yeah.
knew she was going to survive. Like she's like, we've seen footage of her from obviously later parts of the series in the trailers. Like, so it's not as if if that happened in episode 5, I'd be like, oh shit, maybe she's dead. But like it happens in episode 1, and I'm just like, yeah, she'll be fine.
Yeah,
It's gonna be fine.
everything's gonna be
It's
fine.
fine. So yeah, I
So
just thought it was kind of stupid. I thought, and I think Josh from Den of Nerds made a very good point. It's like during that fight, she should have lost a hand or something, like the Star Wars kind of thing. Like, like most Padawans lose hands. Like, and it'd be like that would have
yeah,
kind of been cool.
yeah, but I feel like that's more of like a Skywalker legend kind of situation. I don't really see too many other characters getting stabbed. Like if she'd have gotten cut in half, that would have been even crazier. Well, like to
Oh,
be
doing
honest,
like a Darth Maul, giving her like robotic
yeah,
legs or spider legs for a little while.
yeah, why not?
That'd be hilarious.
If you really want to go in that direction. But I think honestly the whole losing your hand thing is more of a Skywalker legend kind of situation. Like you lose a part of your like whichever arm that you is your dominant gets sliced off, and then it has to be replaced with a robotic arm.
Eh,
But in terms of like Qui Gon Jinn and Sabine getting stabbed, just looking it up, like it's explained that like Qui Gon got stabbed directly into the torso, like directly in the middle. So it's possible that what you're saying is true and that he was stabbed right into like his spine. In which case, when your spine gets severed, it's you're dead. You will
yeah,
die. There's no going back from that. When it comes to Sabine, it's on the right side area of her torso. So it might have been in an area where it wasn't like any vital organs, so that way it's easier for her to recover. And even if it was vital organs, to be honest, in that kind of world, as long as you don't get instantly killed, you can get it replaced. So I mean, luckily it wasn't anything vital. She made a full recovery, and I think we're good. I think most people are looking way into this because in terms of what Qui-Gon had to teach his Padawan and like the youngling was the fact that like I'm not going to be around forever and it's time for you to like it was too early for him to go, but like it was, honestly, had he not died, then the events of Star Wars probably wouldn't have like gone full force. We probably wouldn't have even had an Anakin Skywalker like turning into Darth Vader kind of situation. It would have
yeah,
turned into like a basically like a utopia. Because there's I think there are I don't know if it was like AI generated or if it was actually in like an else story. But there are talks of like what would have happened. And it's like it's known that like if Qui-Gon had survived, then basically he would have taught Obi-Wan well. He would have like given Anakin the proper treatment that he needed to become like a great Jedi. He would have like been a fantastic general. He would have been like basically he would have been on top of everything. And he would have actually joined the dark side with the Emperor, but in terms of that, like killing the Emperor and then reforming into like a good into like a like back into a Jedi kind of situation. So like there's all these different stories that could come about into like, oh man, it really sucks that Qui-Gon just died out of nowhere and then Sabine lives. It's different. It's storytelling, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Well, you don't agree with it?
No, I do. I actually don't care. I don't care that she got stabbed. The Reva thing pissed me off a lot more because it was like Anakin Skywalker stabbing like an 8-year-old child.
Right.
And you know what I mean? A lightsaber. Think about it. A lightsaber going through any part of an 8-year-old child is probably going to just absolutely destroy them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But she was fine. And like I could understand the Sabine argument more because it's like, Ahsoka arrives straight away to take her in, and she gets medical treatment straight away. Like during the Obi-Wan fight, or sorry, the Qui-Gon fight, he's lying there on the ground for like 10 minutes while Obi-Wan defeats Maul. You know what I mean? And then
They don't have
Qui
time.
they don't yeah, like he's lying there, he's dying, he's probably trying to use the force to save himself, but Qui-Gon is very much of the mindset as well. Whatever happens is the force's will. So
Mhm.
he's like, I've been stabbed. This is my destiny. I'm meant to die here. Like, whereas maybe other people might be like, fuck this. I'm going to try and do everything that I can to survive, So I think part of it, there's definitely different levels to it. Again, I'm not disputing the Sabine thing. I just made the comment that a lot of people in the Star Wars community are talking about it.
Mhm.
And I don't have a problem with it at all. And I'm seeing a lot of people talking about how like they don't like how it's like a female like driven show. I'm just like, oh, just stop.
Oh, no, like
Just stop.
yeah,
I'm
in
sorry,
my head
no.
I was like I'm already hearing people saying that kind of shit. And
Yeah.
I know you fucking clipped me on that one time saying it's gonna be an all female cast on the Marvels. That was a genuine upset feeling. That was one thing that I was really upset about.
Well,
There,
you were talking about it as in a female scroll taking over and then them doing like a whole
yes,
female cast. So that's a bit different as well. Like I clipped that because I thought it was funny.
it
But
was funny.
people talking about this shit like it's just stupid, dude. Like the show's called
Yeah, like
Ahsoka. It's a female-led show. If you watch Rebels, like over half the cast of Rebels as well are females.
right.
Any males that were in that show, I feel like we'll probably meet a few more anyway. Like we're getting Anakin. We might get Luke as well. We're gonna get all the other cast of Rebels, I presume, as well. Ezra's probably going to be out there. We're getting Thrawn. You got Ray Stevenson's character, Balin. Like, there's a lot of men around.
Yeah, of
Like, fuck
course.
this. Like,
And
I that shit drives me crazy, bro. I'm just like, stop, just
yeah, like
stop.
it's not like Balin's sitting in the background and they're like, shut up, we're talking here. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
literally
You
like they're
toxic male going around killing people. How dare
right.
you?
And it's like, and that's the thing, is like the whole story so far hasn't been toxic at all. Like it's been
No,
very like
it's
very
yeah,
equal.
it's great. It just like this might sound stupid, but this is just my mindset. Like, I don't really I look at the characters, like I'm not really like seeing
Yeah,
like them as women, like, you know what I mean? I'm just
right.
like, these are cool characters. Ahsoka is Anakin's Padawan, like she's a fucking badass. I don't care that she's a woman, like she's a fucking alien. Like, I don't care. Like, it's irrelevant, I think. You know? I just don't
Well,
get it, bro.
like
People just
well,
look for like people are looking at shit to nitpick all the time. Like, that's
exactly.
what they just want something to argue about on Twitter. Like, that's all it is. It's
Yeah,
always the way.
and honestly, I really like the fact that they're having duels between like Shin and Sabine, and we have like Ahsoka showing off her skills and whatnot. Because like we never really got that with like the female Jedi as well. Like it's one thing that's like interesting to note. Like yes, for most of like the original story, like from the first timeline, um, it's all men, which is fine. And you have like Leia, who's has the potential to become a Jedi, but like even in the prequel trilogy, you have mostly men, but like you're seeing that there's multiple children being trained. You also have some female Jedi in the background and whatnot, and so you don't really get to see
Oh,
them that
definitely.
often.
There
So
there
like
is a lot of female Jedi, but again,
right,
yeah, like most of the
but
main
they were
characters in the original six were male.
right, and it's not so much like, oh, we don't see them that often because like they don't get enough screen time. It's like, no, honestly, it was just because a lot of them got killed in Order 66. And so we don't know how many people actually made it out. Like we know that people escaped.
Yeah.
We just don't know how many. We know, but all we know are that the important ones made it out. And so
Yeah.
Ahsoka made it out. The Ray made it out. Um, what's it called? Who else made it out? Baby, like Grogu made it out, and like other characters. So like seeing this now and seeing Sabine and seeing Ahsoka makes me really excited to see someone who is trained under Anakin is trying to train a new like potential like master.
Hmm.
Someone that can really like carry things forward, because like you really want to have the Jedi to repopulate. Um because
Yeah.
you can't just let the Sith, you know, flourish out of nowhere
Would you be
and
pissed
not have your
off?
Jedi.
Would you be pissed off if Sabine turned into a Jedi? Because
No.
like,
I wouldn't even be pissed off if she turned into a Sith, because a lot of the points that we're seeing right now is the fact that she's using her feelings to kind of get through things.
yeah,
Um,
that's true. That's true. I hadn't thought about that really, but the big kind of dispute is, Sabine is a Mandalorian. She's never shown any force sensitivity whatsoever, and now just magically she's Ahsoka's Padawan. And it's like, is she a Jedi or not? Does she have the Force or not? What the hell? But then the droid, whatever his name is, VC or whatever, he actually makes so when he's giving her the speech about like, have you used the lightsaber? Are you following your training and stuff? She's like, no, Ahsoka doesn't want to train me, blah blah blah. And he makes the comment. He says, I've never seen a Padawan with so little like Force connectivity or whatever as yourself. So she's
yeah,
officially like the lowest Force level apprentice of all time, which I think is kind of cool. Like,
I think that's
I'm
cool too.
glad that they mentioned it, because it would have been kind of weird if she did become a Jedi and we never see her use the Force or anything. It kind of would feel like a bit of a kind of just I don't know, plot armor, like kind of just like trying to progress the story without it making any sense.
You mean
So,
like Finn?
yeah, well, Finn apparently is force sensitive, but we just didn't get to see it because I don't even want to talk about that whole situation. That was just horrendous what happened to that poor guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like he was written
he
out of the story. Like you like just
he had
I
so
don't
much potential as a character.
he was
And
probably the best character in the sequel trilogy, and they just destroyed it because they wanted to focus on Ray.
yeah, because like potentially speaking, we see Finn first, don't we?
Yeah. He's got the
So
best
like
redemption story ever. Like he's a fucking stormtrooper who looks like he's been brainwashed and he kind of snaps out of the brainwashing. It's like, what am I doing? How do I, and then he goes and joins the rebellion. Kind of, and then we find out like that he's potentially force sensitive. Like epic, bro. Would have
that
been
would have been
so good.
sick. But
Would have been so
I
good.
understand what they were trying. Like I understand that at the time as well, they wanted to like do this other situation where it's like, okay, well, there's someone who's also a nomad and doesn't have any parents and whatnot, and like
Did you watch
basically two stories fighting amongst each other, and then
did you
eventually the writers were like, Ray's gonna win this fight.
did you check out those videos, the Prism videos, the dude who was making the Star Wars scripts using AI?
Not yet. I need to finish the other episode. I know you sent me, or we watched one together.
Yeah, so we didn't even watch the full thing, but yeah, basically in episodes like in that Prism videos, he's on shout out to him he's on YouTube, go find him. Um, he basically uses AI art, and I don't know if he's writing the scripts himself or if the scripts are written by AI as well. But basically, he writes the story properly. You know what I mean? We get introduced to Rey; she's evil, because of course, because she's a fucking Palpatine. You know what I mean? It just makes sense. Like, and it just the way that they did it was just really, really good.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then like obviously Luke and Ben are great, and Finn, he's not even mentioned in this story actually as being force sensitive, which again I think probably makes more sense, really, to be honest, than him just like
Yeah.
magically having the force. But I think George Lucas mentioned in an interview before, like everyone has the force. The force is in everybody, but not everybody can control it, or not everybody has as high of a connection to it as others. So technically, every being has a connection to the force, but not everyone can actually channel it and use it.
Mhm.
So,
So
that makes sense obviously as well. So, the fact that Sabine has a little bit, she can use it maybe a tiny bit, and she's a great warrior, and her Mandalorian training is kicking in as well. And obviously she's going to learn to use a lightsaber. But I'd be very interested to see, will she go through the whole Jedi training part where she's like, upside down trying to lift rocks with her mind and all that sort of stuff. I don't know if she'll ever get there. I think maybe she'll just be kind of like well, I suppose the Inquisitors were Jedi, but I don't know. Maybe she'll be potentially trained just in lightsaber combat. I don't know.
right,
I suppose
and
we'll have to see where it goes.
so that's something that a lot of people are debating about right now is like, can a non-force user use a lightsaber? And to be honest, I think lore perspective, yes, it's possible.
Yeah, anyone
You're
can.
right. So
It's
you
not like
don't
the dark saber.
right. So you don't necessarily have to be force sensitive to use it. You just won't have the exact same acrobatic skills and like force abilities that like one would need as a Jedi. Because there will be moments where like you're caught in a situation and you need your lightsaber, and if you can't reach for it, then being able to pull it to you is very crucial to your survival. So like
Yeah. Well, the
if
force is obviously they say that the force kind of flows through the Jedi as well. So nearly it nearly controls you. So if you have a Jedi who can use the force fighting somebody who can't, you know what I mean? That person's not going to be able to sense attacks coming at them. So you can be
Mhm.
as good as like what's to stop you sensing and like a lightsaber coming at you from behind? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're not gonna know that, and then you're just gonna get your head taken off. So, realistically speaking, you would want to be like the best swords person alive to stick up in a fight against a Padawan who has the Force. That's the way I have always kind of perceived it. It's like if you like normal people using lightsabers, you might be able to chop through something, or you might get a lucky hit on a droid or a stormtrooper. But if you're fighting somebody who has the Force, you're fucking dead.
Right. So
You're dead.
example, General Grievous, he does not have force powers. Like he has
Yeah,
no force sensitivity at all. He's just been
yeah,
really well trained in the use of lightsabers.
exactly. And we saw how that happened with him. All he had to
Well,
do was
because he came
fight.
up against Obi-Wan.
Exactly. All he had to do was fight a Jedi, close combat, Now again, there is a scene in one of the cartoons where he like slays a whole like team of Jedi,
Mhm.
which is kind of strange. But again, I don't know, like, because he's kind of like half robot, half alien. So again, I wonder, is it programming nearly? You know what I mean? And just like overwhelming, like think of it as him as like as a droid or something. Whereas
Mhm.
like he could program all of these attacks and swing four lightsabers at the same time, and none of them are going to cross paths, or none of them are going like he's not going to chop his own hands off by mistake because it's all ones and zeros. It's all like
It's
you know,
cybernetics. Like
yeah,
they
it's
really have
programming.
his
It's
potential
programming.
like put to the max.
Exactly. So like that going against not like a Jedi Master, for example, like having four lightsabers coming at you at once, you can probably block maybe two of them, so you're gonna die, obviously. So I suppose that makes sense to me. But like when we're talking about humans with two hands, I just don't I don't see that a person like that being a threat to even a Padawan learner. Like
Right. It just depends. They really show that like humans for some reason have like the most potential. But at the same time, like when we see Ahsoka and we hear about the stories of Plo Koon, it's
yeah,
like, god damn, like even aliens can be super badass.
I just think I think if Star Wars had started today, I think you would get a lot more aliens. Like there's a lot of aliens in the temple at all times. There's aliens on the Jedi Council, but they're not really kind of like focused characters, I think, because maybe like back then there wasn't as many alien things, like you know what I mean? Like it was more kind of like human focused for storytelling. Whereas now I think it's a lot more kind of common to be following stories about aliens like Avatar and all this sort of stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like they didn't really have any of that or
Right.
very much of that stuff back then. So I can kind of understand why they would focus on human characters.
Dude,
Whereas I think
I've
if Star Wars was like made now, you could potentially go into the Jedi Temple and any of these could be like the main character of a story.
yeah. Dude, I want more Plo Koon. I want them to go back and do some like
Yeah,
animated shorts.
he's dead, unfortunately, but yeah.
I know, but like
You mean
I would
before
love to
episode
see
three?
some like yeah, some legends about him because he's
Yeah.
literally on the council.
You know he's like Dave Filoni's favorite Jedi. So
He's the
when
coolest looking too.
yeah, he is.
You
He's
can't tell
badass.
if he's upset or not because
And if there
he
was
just looks like that.
I used to play as him in one of the old Star Wars games. I can't remember which game it was, but there was a game where you could play as him, and he was like the first person that you saw in Star Wars to have a yellow lightsaber. They gave him a yellow lightsaber in this game, and it was epic. I used to love playing as Plo Koon with the yellow lightsaber. It was fucking epic. Um, but yeah, I don't know if you've heard the story of the way they had Luke in Mando season 2
Yeah.
to keep they kept it a secret even from all the scoopers and everything. Like no one knew about it, and they literally wrote it into the script so everyone involved in the show who read the scripts and who was in charge of props and everything like that, it always said Plo Koon this, Plo Koon that, and they wrote it into the script instead of saying Luke appears on the bridge or whatever. It was always Plo Koon. So everyone who worked on the show thought Plo Koon was going to show up in the finale. And then when they actually went to shoot the finale, everyone was kind of like, "Where the fuck is Plo Koon?" And then like Mark Hamill walks out, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, it's Mark Hamill! It's Luke Skywalker!" Like so they literally kept it a secret even from the fucking staff working on the show, like which is
Mm.
crazy. Yeah,
It just
absolutely crazy.
it just really sucks because like with the use of Order 66, like the stormtroopers or the clone troopers were just aware of everything that could be done to destroy the Master Jedi. Like it was just it 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 wasn't fair, man. Like he was out on the speeder with them. He was leading the charge, and then the order was done. They pulled back, and then they just fucking shot him down. And
You gotta give
he had no way to get out of it.
you gotta give props to Palpatine, bro. It was quite the plan.
It was one of those
Yeah,
like that was one of the greatest things
yeah,
that could have happened to the Jedi. And like it's fucked. It's so fucked up, but like it's the way that it was executed was
yeah,
perfect.
yeah,
Um
yeah,
or nearly perfect. You know, they didn't get everyone, but at the very least they got like almost all the masters.
yeah, yeah. It was crazy. Yeah.
Crazy.
Let's go into a bit of theory because we're like 50 minutes into the cast. Can't believe we're 50 minutes, by the way. If anyone's still listening to us, thank you for being here this long. Um, First of all, wanted to ask the Inquisitor. I can't remember his name, Marek or something like that. Do you have any ideas or any hopes on who that is, or do you think it's just a brand new character, or do you think it's going
I'm
to be somebody?
I'm kind of hoping it's a brand new character. just so that we
Mm.
could have like a mysterious person,
Yeah.
and then like just knowing that there's more Inquisitors in the world is a lot more fun than thinking. Can you imagine if for some reason it became like one of the Inquisitors that we knew already, but it's like, what? Why the
Yeah.
fuck are you here? Like, I don't
Well,
want it to not make sense.
it's a what the fuck moment for me either way, because I'm kind of like, hang on a second, like the Inquisitors were around after episode 3, but we didn't see any Inquisitors in episodes 4, 5, and 6. So it's like I would have presumed that they all would have like died out or whatever. Again, there's a kind of like after the Kenobi show where we kind of see the first like set of live action Inquisitors, and there's Inquisitors in Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff.
Mhm.
After that, there's like no mention of them whatsoever. So like you're to presume that like in those like 9 years after the events of the show, either Cal Kestis has taken them out, the guy from the games, or like Obi-Wan maybe goes off planet again or some shit, or they come to Tatooine to try and take out Obi-Wan and Obi-Wan kills them or something like that.
Mhm.
But it's like how is there an Inquisitor here now after all the events of everything, like the rise of Luke, the takedown of Palpatine and everything? It's like, where's this dude been? What's he been up to? you know, Two of the theories that I've seen around, which are kind of wild, which I kind of think both of them are kind of crazy, but one of them would be really cool if it was true. First one is that it's Ezra. He's turned evil. He's come back from the after beyond or whatever, and he's actually evil. And he's going to unmask himself as being Ezra at some point, which I think would be cool for the story, especially if he's fighting Sabine. And there's that connection between Ezra and Sabine, and then we find out that he turned evil or whatever in his time away, twisted by Tron or whatever. Like,
Mhm.
kind of cool. I could see them doing that. Like, it's very kind of obvious, or kind of the way like every like story, all these like shows and stuff, they all have kind of symmetry or poetry or whatever you want to call it. So that would make sense storytelling wise. But I think it's a little too obvious as well. So maybe not. Another one was that it would be Sam Witwer. So basically, Sam Witwer, he voices Darth Maul in Clone Wars and Rebels,
Mhm.
but he was originally came into Star Wars as Star Killer in the old games, the Force Unleashed. So I don't know if you ever played those games on PlayStation and Xbox, but
No, none of
basically,
the.
incredible, bro, incredible. They're amazing, dude. Like they're on Steam for like fucking $5. Go buy them. Like they're so good, right? But basically, it was kind of old canon. But basically, what happens is after Episode 3, you're the story starts out as your Vader going around hunting the remaining Jedi. So kind of
Mhm.
like what's happening before the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. But basically, you play as Vader in the first level of the game, which is fucking. It was so good. I'll never forget it. I can remember playing this as if it was yesterday when it first came out, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm Vader! I'm jumping around, and you're on Kashyyyk, and you're killing Wookiees and all. It's crazy." I was like, "This is fucking nuts." And then you come up to a fight, you end up fighting this Jedi, you end up killing the Jedi, and then you're standing there, and your Vader's lightsaber gets taken out of his hand, and he's like, "What the fuck? Like, who the fuck like took my lightsaber off me?" And he turns around, and it's a little child who's like force like grabbed his lightsaber. So Vader's like, "What the hell? This kid is powerful." So he basically, in secret, takes this child and makes him his secret apprentice. So
Mhm.
then we kind of jump forward 10 years in the story, or 5, 6, 7 years, whatever you want to call it. And you're basically you play as this character who's Vader's secret apprentice. And the story starts where you're going around trying to find some Jedi and killing them. But basically, during the story, you turn back to the light side, and or turn to the light side because you've never been in the light side. But basically, the way that they described this is how Luke would be if he actually did turn to the dark side and trained with Vader. Like, this is the potential that Luke would have. He would be as
Mhm.
powerful as Starkiller. And like Starkiller is so powerful that he's able to pull like star destroyers out of the sky and all. Like, there's a scene where he's like literally using the force and he pulls one out of the sky and crashes it down onto the planet and all. It's wild, dude. But he's so good. And like they do an alternate ending where like he actually kills Vader and he becomes like Palpatine's apprentice and stuff.
Mhm.
But the mask that he has in that ending of the game is kind of similar to the mask that this Inquisitor has. This is why people are kind of thinking it as well. And then as well, to add to the fucking juices of the fire, this fucking theory, if you actually watch the credits for episode 2, I think Sam Witwer is actually credited in under voices or something like that in episode 2 of the show. Now, that could mean anything because he has done voice work for Star Wars before. So he could be doing some like spurious fucking voice work for anybody in the show. But people are kind of thinking, oh my god, imagine he was this Inquisitor, because Dave was asked about it before in an interview. It's like, would you bring Sam Witwer into any like Rebels or something like that? And they said that they had the conversation and they were thinking of making Starkiller an Inquisitor, but then
Mhm.
they kind of doubled back on the idea because he's so overpowered. It's crazy. Like, he's the most powerful thing in the fucking universe.
Mhm.
Like he's too powerful. So they were kind of like, do we like strip him back of his powers and like kind of introduce him, but he's different? And then people are going to be angry because it's not really Starkiller, but it is Starkiller and all. So I don't know. It's an interesting theory. I'm kind of very excited to see where it goes, because I think if it is him, I'll be very excited because I love Sam Witwer. Like, he's a fucking legend. Um, but I don't know. You can't really do the real Starkiller, and then if you're doing Starkiller and now he's an Inquisitor, but he's getting like beaten up by Ahsoka, it's kind of weird. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But if you think about it, Ahsoka is Anakin's Padawan, and Starkiller slash Marek or whatever this dude's name is actually Vader's Padawan. So it's Anakin's Padawan versus Vader's Padawan. Padawan
Which I
versus
think would
Padawan.
be
So it's
really cool.
yeah. So that's, again, we're back talking about the symmetry, the poetry. So they both have logical reasoning about behind them in actually being official theories, and like something that actually could happen. So
Mhm.
I don't know. But you're probably right in what you're saying. It probably is just a brand new character. But again,
Yeah.
I have to ask the question, because when we go again, the last thing I want to talk about with these first two episodes, and it goes back to that question that Inferno asked earlier on. But there is basically a mention of a new galaxy. So
Right.
the female character who is confirmed as a Night Sister as well, which again we didn't even talk about as well. Like, that's more of like amazing news. Like, you know what I mean? She's a Night Sister of Dathomir. Like, so if you've played the Fallen Order games, you'll see the Night Sisters are in it and stuff. Like, they're basically witches. So you now have witches in the live action universe along with Jedi and stuff. Like, it's fucking wild. It's getting crazy. But basically, when she opens up the portal where you see the beam going up into the air, she's like, "This is another universe, and this is where Thrawn is." So technically, it's another timeline, another universe, whatever. So there is a kind of there's a possibility that what could actually happen, and people have been talking about retconning the sequels for years. It's it could technically be on the table now, because if everybody in this show, so if Ahsoka and Hera and Sabine and everybody go to this new world, and Ray Stevenson's character and the Padawan and this other Inquisitor, if everybody goes into that new world in search of Ezra and in search of Thrawn, and they get stuck there,
Mhm.
you could potentially continue on a Star Wars story in another universe or another timeline or another galaxy or whatever you want to call it. So technically, kind of like the Marvel thing, they're creating branches now, and they could potentially move the focus of the story into this new universe and kind of just forget about all the mistakes that they made after episode 6. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Which is kind of wild. And I don't know how people would actually take that. I don't know if people would want that. Obviously, it was announced that there's going to be another Ray movie. So even if they do this, number one, I don't know how Disney would take this if Dave did actually try and do it. It's like, what are you like? Are you undermining us? Are you going against the stories that we've put out? Like, is this a kind of fuck you to the work that we've done when you're now trying to go to a different timeline and erase everything that we've done? Like, obviously, Disney have plans to do another Ray movie, so they have to come back, I presume. But it would kind of make sense as to why there's no mention of Ahsoka in the sequels. There's no mention of anybody after the events of The Mandalorian. They all kind of seem to disappear. And Luke doesn't mention anything about Ahsoka or Ezra or any of these people or Sabine or any of these like potential Jedis. So I don't know. It's interesting.
I
It is interesting.
I mean, like it's easy to say that because they're not talked about, that they're like not part of the universe. But to be completely fair, a lot of things that happen in the past eventually become legend, and unless it's relatable, um, there's no real reason to talk about it. So like
I
I don't
I
see the
think
reason.
I think Ahsoka's voice, so the voice actor of Ahsoka, was used in episode 9 during that last kind of scene where, where Rey has all the spirits of the Jedi in her. I'm pretty sure Ahsoka was in that scene. So, that kind of confirms that she is dead by the time it comes around to episode 9. So I suppose that kind of debunks that theory in a sense. But again, now that we're messing around with timelines and stuff in different galaxies, I suppose anything could really happen. Like
Right.
something could happen that they could change the timeline or come back to a slightly different timeline where things are different. Maybe they do try and retcon the sequels a little bit, which I know would make some people angry. I have no kind of love or hate towards, well, more so hate than love towards the sequels, but I don't care that they're around. Maybe they will age better. Like, a lot of people didn't like the prequels when they came out and now they do. Or they've kind of maybe grown a little fonder of them, or it's just the people who were kids when they came out, like myself, have now grown up and now, we have a voice to talk about how good they were. Whereas, like, back in the day, the internet wasn't around really, like social media wasn't a thing. So, you couldn't have kids going on and talking about how much they loved episode three. We didn't have a voice back then to actually,
Mhm.
say that we loved it. So, Hugh McGregor said that himself. It's like when they did the press tour for Obi-Wan, it's like we met the fans. We got to talk to all the kids we made those movies for. So now we kind of understand the love that's out there for these characters where we didn't really, it was silence back in the day. And all we heard was the old people who were the fans of the originals giving out because it wasn't the same as the originals. So
Right.
that's pretty much why George sold it. Like, I think honestly, if George had seen the reception that like Hayden Christensen got when he came back for Obi-Wan and how much everyone loves Ewan McGregor and everything. Like, if that had happened in 2011, I don't think George would have sold Lucas, to be honest. I think he would have kept going. But at the time, there was like so much hate for Star Wars that he was just like, fuck this. Like, I can make 4 billion and just walk away.
Yeah, and to be honest, like, that's
I don't
probably the
blame him.
best.
I
Yeah,
don't
that's
blame
the
him.
best way to go for it. I mean, you
Yeah.
think about it, like, Notch sold, Minecraft.
Mm.
Like, he sold the rights to Minecraft to what, Microsoft?
Yeah, I
And
think it
so,
is
like,
Microsoft. Isn't it?
yeah, he made like, it was just it's a, like, still beloved to this day. People love Minecraft, and so, I mean, when you get an offer like that too, like, why turn it down? Because like,
Yeah, I know what you
you're
mean.
done for the rest of your life. I would never turn that down. I'd be like, "Okay, I'm done. I'm happy." And it's like,
George Lucas makes his own movies now, like just like private movies that he just like screens for his friends. Like
"That
apparently
sounds
they're like full blown production films
that
that
sounds
like he just
fun."
like shows in his screening room when he sits down with like Steven Spielberg and all his other friends, and they just sit down and watch his movies, which will probably never see the light of day. It's just it's crazy to me, like, and that's obviously what you can do with $4 billion.
I mean, if like, thinking about it, that's his passion, that's his life. So like,
Yeah, of
if that's
course.
what he wants to do for a hobby, like, it probably doesn't even cost a lot for him, considering that like, he could probably like spend a cool 2 to 5 million and like make his own movie, and then
Mhm.
just watch it with his friends, like you said. Like, that sounds fun. There's
It's epic.
no reason to go out into the world and be like, here's my movie, and be told like it's shit. Just, you want to make your own stuff.
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
could
it's
see
just like
that. Like,
it's home movies
yeah,
on steroids, basically.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sick. I'd love to be able to watch them. I wonder, like, I hate to say this, like, but I wonder when he dies, will like some of that stuff get released?
It depends, because
Yeah.
when you think about it, Prince has made, like, Prince, the singer,
Mhm.
he has made tons and tons of songs that we will never hear,
Yeah.
because it's locked away in a vault.
Same thing with Nirvana, like with Kurt Cobain's death, everything went to Courtney Love, and she wouldn't release anything for so long, and the rest of the band fought her in court for like 15 years, and then they ended up getting like one unreleased song released on an album that came out like fucking 15 years after his death or something. And now even now you're only kind of seeing like drips and drabs of like Nirvana being used in movies and TV and stuff like that. Like it's all still so under lock, but apparently he was the same. He had loads of music that was written and
Right.
unreleased and
Well,
unfinished tracks that Dave and Chris Novoselic could easily go back and finish. Like,
oh yeah, and the same thing with Chester Bennington. Like, they
mm,
released like a song that wasn't released on one of the albums.
yeah, I heard about that.
'Cause I
Yeah,
think because I think it sounded way too close to, what was it? Number the End. I can't remember, or In the End.
I haven't heard the song, so I don't know. I'm not really a big Linkin Park fan, so I haven't actually actively gone to look for this show for the song, but I'm actually going to. I'll listen to it tomorrow. I'll throw it on my way to work. I'll tell that you know. Um, but yeah, they were cool. A lot of the old Linkin Park stuff I really liked. Hybrid Theory and stuff like that. That was good.
No, we all know you're a "Where Are You" fan, so we get it.
Yes, exactly. I'm going to see them in 2 weeks, bro. It's going to be amazing.
Oh, dude, that's sick.
Yeah, they're coming to Ireland. Probably for the last time ever. So I got tickets. So yeah, it's gonna be sweet. Can't wait.
Hell yeah, man.
I
I hope you
literally
really enjoy it, and I hope
I have
nobody
it.
like bumps into you too much while you're watching.
I'd kill them. I have a I got a t-shirt off his website as well. It says like Tom was right, aliens fucking exist on it. So I'm gonna wear that for the gig. Can't wait.
Great, man.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, delighted. Is there anything else you want to bring up? I don't even think there was any kind of like nerdy news from the week or anything like that.
Excuse me.
I'm trying to think. I watched a few more
Um,
episodes of Demon Slayer if you wanted to go into a bit of anime
yeah,
before the end.
dude, like you're like honestly like you're really close to finishing up the first season, aren't you?
I am. I'm very close to finishing the first season, and I think I have 3 episodes left in season 1, which I'll probably finish tomorrow or
Nice.
Tuesday. I'll definitely finish them on Tuesday, I'd say.
Tuesday.
Um, but yeah, it's good. It's good. Tanjiro just got taken to like the Demon Slayer headquarters,
Yep.
and he's on trial for obviously traveling with a demon and so on. And yeah, it was cool to kind of get introduced to like I don't know what they call them. They're like the elders or whatever. Like they're the most powerful demon slayers and shit. And some of them are like crazy characters and stuff. But yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. Um, you'll like this as well. Actually, there's a website that I used to order a bunch of like t-shirts off. Like this one I'm wearing right now came from it. It's like they do
Yeah,
these.
like
It's called QWERTY. I don't know if you've ever heard of it before. But basically, I'm typing it in the chat here.
dude, like it's funny because like I do the same thing, but I use like T Public and there's like some other stuff like I do the Yeti and whatnot. There's a whole bunch of sites where they just have a bunch of like different designs that you can go
Yeah,
by and you'll find like the perfect one. I'd never heard of QWERTY, so I'm gonna have to check that one out.
I don't know if QWERTY are like because I know they're. I don't know if it's their like main headquarters or in Dublin or if it's like an EU headquarters. I don't know if they ship to the US or not. Maybe they do. Look them up anyway. But basically, what's beautiful about this site is they have every single day they release a new T-shirt or 2 or 3 new T-shirts, and those T-shirts are up for 24 hours, and that's it. They never exist again. So they're like one of one. And then if you get you have 24 hours to put an order in, or you usually lose it. Now they do sometimes bring back their best hits or best sellers, but they're usually all done by like custom artists, so they're not official merch or anything, but they're all done by custom artists. So
Mhm.
you'll get crossovers and stuff. So they've loads of cool little Star Wars ones and stuff. But I logged onto Facebook the other day, and there was a suggestion. I haven't bought a T-shirt off them in a long time because I used to order way too many of them. Like my whole wardrobe would be full of them.
So cool.
But yeah, like it's cool because they're not that expensive either. So you know what I mean. But I basically went onto Facebook and I got suggested an ad from them, and it was a Demon Slayer T-shirt, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, I'm buying this." So I bought
They're like,
it,
we know you're
and
watching, bro.
I was like, "Yeah, that's it, exactly, bro." They it's somehow linked to my fucking Netflix. They know I'm watching it. But I was like, I posted in Discord. I was like, "I'm an official anime nerd now. I've got some merch." Like, so I have a Tanjiro T-shirt coming, and what's the sister's name? Emek, what's her name?
Nezuko.
Nezuko. I always think Emiko or something. Nezuko, yeah. I have a T-shirt with her on it as well. So I got two fucking Demon Slayer T-shirts coming, and I got
Oh
like
yeah, dude.
a couple of Star Wars ones that look fucking epic, bro. I'll show you them when I get them. Like they're epic, but they look great. So yeah, anyone, this is not a sponsored ad. Anybody go to fucking QWERTY, check out their shit. We're not getting paid for this. I just love them. They're legends. Yeah, highly recommend. But if you obtain an obsession with QWERTY, which I know anybody who I mention this site to becomes obsessed with it, don't blame me. It's your own fault. So if you start buying loads of t-shirts off them, it's your own fault. I went through a stage where it would be in my daily rituals to check this website to see what today's t-shirt was, and I ended up buying so many of them. And like my girlfriend got into it. I've said it to a few people in the Twitch community. They've gotten into it as well. Like so, it is a slippery slope. So I will warn you now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
There's so many cool designs. Like a bunch of different artists come through and it even
oh,
tells you like
yeah,
who it's by and so
yeah,
like you can go through like their collection, see what you like from them.
yeah.
It's very fun to go through and even if you don't buy it, it's just cool to see like what designs that they have in
Yeah,
mind.
QWERTY now are doing like the same t-shirt designs. You can get them now on stickers. You can get them on posters. You can do hoodies. You can do t-shirts. You can do kids stuff and everything. Like so, they've really like upped their game in recent times. So yeah, it's fucking sick. So if you see a T-shirt that you really like, you can choose to get it in a sticker instead if you want.
Dude, so you know about the Metal Gear Solid series, right? Like I know
Um,
you haven't really played them, but you know of them, right?
yeah, I know of them. Like they're doing a remake, aren't they? Or like a remaster or something.
Well, they'll
Third
have a
one or something like
remaster
that.
collection coming out.
Mm.
Uh, so I remember a long time ago. I'm a huge fan of like Fallout of the Fallout series. I need to play 1 and 2. I've never played 1 and 2. I played 3, New Vegas, 4, 76. Um,
I bought
and
3 back in the day when it first came out, and I played a couple of hours of it, and it was one of those games where it was just like I wasn't in the mindset to play it, and I just went on to something else, and I never went back to it.
yeah.
But yeah, I think was it Clint? I think Clint was doing a playthrough of them on PC a while ago, and like fell in love with them instantly as
Oh,
well.
dude. Well, like I was playing New Vegas and I dropped off of it. I need to get back to it. I know I have
Mm,
some save files that I need to run, or I could just do a brand new run again.
yeah,
But basically, I like the Vault Boy, which is like their mascot. It's the guy
yeah,
who's like doing this, and
I
so like
know. It's such a cool drawing. Looks
yeah.
great.
So
Yeah,
so one of the cool things about the shirts is that when Metal Gear Solid 5 was coming out, they had like Venomous Snake, and so like he has the red arm, like
yeah,
the mechanical arm. And so they made a t-shirt called Vault Boss where he's not doing the thumbs up, but it's basically Venomous Snake holding out a gem because it's like
right.
blood gems
Yeah,
and it's in the style of Vault Boy. So he's like winking. So like
yeah.
I was just immediately
I
enamored. I'm
love
like,
when they,
this is the
yeah,
fucking coolest shirt ever.
I love when they do mashups like that. Like it's because you're getting multiple, like you're hitting like multiple fan bases.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it's great. Like the QWERTY site do that all the time, where they'll like do mashups between like Star Wars and fucking Alien or something like that. Like crazy ones. Like I think there was like saw some crazy Predator one at one time, and it was like a mashup with something else. And it's just they just hit as many different like fan bases as they can. It's
Mhm.
it's clever. It's clever. It's very clever. But yeah,
Like it's so good. Yeah. But yeah, in terms of anime, I'm glad that you're really liking the show. It's nice to hear that like you're interested enough to be like, I will buy a shirt and wear it to represent like the show that I'm interested in so far.
yeah,
Um in terms of the One Piece series right now, this week is going to be a slow week. There's no new episode coming out and there's no new chapter coming out in the manga, so we're kind of stuck for about a week. But that's
oh
fine. They take weeks every now and then. It's a lot of work. Like Oda is working tirelessly every single week trying to pump out a new manga every week. So like
yeah,
and we're kind of reaching to a point where the show's going to end very like not very soon, but within 5 years.
yeah.
So we're almost done. And I even
Mhm.
told Katie, I said, we're like, it's almost done. And so I'm trying to get her caught up as soon as possible so that like at the point where it's like, it's almost over, she's already caught up. In which
Yeah,
case, like right now, we finished the War for the Best, which was like in Marineford. Luffy has figured his shit out because he had gone into like a psychotic rage in the sense like he didn't want to believe that a good person of his died.
yeah,
And so like it's a very emotional kind of thing. And then we see the backstory between him and Sabo and Ace, and then saying that Sabo died, and it's like, oh my god. And then so now we're in the present time. Like we finally reached the halfway point. Literally, when you reach episode 516 and you reach the end of that episode, it doesn't say to be continued. It says go to new world.
right.
So that's your halfway point right there. So now we're in the
Oh,
half
okay.
now we're in the second half of the show. We have now reached the point where the Straw Hat crew is about to take off to Fishman Island, and the only person left that is missing right now that is kind of confused about where he is Luffy. And
Right.
Katie always pesters me about this. Like, when are they just gonna get on the fucking ship and leave? And it's like, and I tell her it's like Luffy's Luffy. Like he's gonna be dumb for every now and then, and he's gonna get lost. And it's like Zoro. Zoro gets lost. It just happens. And she's like, it's just taking fucking forever. Well, they haven't seen each other in a long time. Like I want to see them getting on the goddamn ship. And I'm like, it's happening. And she's like, when? And I was like, in a couple more episodes.
Love it.
And I get it because it's like, okay, we finished this story. Let's move on. Let's have all the characters back together and happy and ready to go. Because
Yeah,
like I would say once you get them on the ship and they start heading out to Fishman Island, it's nothing but gold. I know most people are like, oh, Fishman Island wasn't that good. Honestly, I really liked it. Um,
yeah.
it it definitely gets like it gets overshadowed by the fact that like the next arcs that come out, which is like Dressrosa, Whole Cake Island, Wano, like those are like they just eclipse one over the other. So like you like Fishman Island?
Just keeps
Here's
getting better
Dressrosa.
and better.
Yep.
Up and up and up. Yeah, that's what
Yep.
you want. That's what you
Exactly.
want. I'm rewatching. Me and my missus are rewatching Supernatural at the moment, and I think she's only watched a lot of it like once, so it's like only her second rewatch, so she doesn't remember a lot of it. Like I've rewatched it like 4 or 5 times now, so every episode I'm kind of like, oh, I love this one, or the next one I know is going to be great, and all this stuff. Like, and we're in season 5 right now, and it's like season 5 is probably it's got some of the best episodes of the show ever, like, and they're
Mhm.
like one after another. So it's just like shit. This is like you're just watching it going, this is the best shit ever. And like even season 6 is incredible as well. And then by
Mhm.
the time it comes around to season 7, it starts kind of dipping down. So I'm probably gonna stop the rewatch it after season 6. Maybe we'll keep going. I don't know, but I won't watch it as frequently. We've kind of blasted through the first 5 seasons of the show. A lot of them are 22 episode, like 40-minute episode shows. Like so, we've gone through quite a few episodes.
Right.
But oh man, what a show! If anyone who's listening to this has not watched Supernatural, it's on Amazon Prime. If you're in Europe, check it out. It's incredible. Love it. Love it.
I might give it a check, but I need to
Oh, dude, you've never
I
seen it.
do no, I knew saying it would be like, oh,
Oh,
you
how
gotta
dare you?
watch it.
How dare you, bro? Yeah, you do. You gotta watch it. Like even like because the first season, I would have always said during like my rewatches when I was younger, like I'd be like, season 1 is kind of it's okay, and then it like starts like season 2 gets going, it starts going up and up, and I kind of like what you're saying with One Piece. It's like it just keeps getting better and better and better, and like you go into like season 2, season 3. And it's just up, up, up. Season 4, even better. You're like, oh my god, how could it get like? Because you're kind of thinking, oh, it's getting a little boring now because it's always just about like demons and stuff and ghosts, and then it's like, boom, season 4 happens, and they just introduce a whole another fucking level of it, like, and then season 5, doubling it up again, even better, 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 and like it's just, oh, it's so good, bro. It's so good. Like you would love the show. I know you would. It's fantastic. Like there's pop culture references in it. Like it's all about like supernatural shit. Like so
Mhm.
ghosts, like demons, fucking vampires, werewolves, everything.
Demons
Like
fucking?
shape shit. Yeah, yeah, they fuck, bro.
Ooh.
They fuck shit up. um, well, yeah, no, like it gets wild, dude. It does. It's amazing. Like, it's like kind of like a freak of the week sort of thing. Like, so every week there's like a different like monster, or different. They call it like they're hunters. Like, so they go on a hunt every week. So,
Mhm.
they'll be sitting around read the paper. It's like, oh, someone died in an apartment where like all the windows and doors were like locked and no one came in. But it's like the woman got butchered inside. So it's like we got to check this out. Like, it's clearly like a ghost or something. Like, so like, it's all
Right.
this cool shit. Like every week it's different. Like, so that's epic. Love it.
That's great, man.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I definitely want to check that out, but in terms of our list of things that we need to watch, because Katie and I are like trying to run through a couple things.
yeah,
There's a new show of Justified, like I think it's like a sequel like series, and I never finished Justified. I watched like I think 3 or 4 seasons and then I
yeah.
dropped.
How
So
many
Katie wants
seasons
to
are there?
I think it was like 5 or 6.
Yeah, I thought, yeah, or is the one that's out now like 6 maybe? Was there 5 and now this is a
Well,
sixth or something? Or
well,
oh,
it's
it's
like a
kind of like
new
the way
name for the
Dexter.
series.
It's like the way
Yeah,
Dexter did the New Blood show.
right.
Kind of like
Exactly.
season 9, but it's not really.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Yeah,
So basically, we're gonna have to start incorporating that. I I feel like it's okay if we take a little bit of a break between like for One Piece just so that we can watch
is
Justified.
is that did they release all that at once, or is that actually airing now like weekly?
I think I feel like it's airing weekly.
Only speaking personally now, but I find when a show is airing weekly, it's easy to keep up with it because it's like you only have to watch one episode a week, like so it's like fit it into your schedule, like like me usually it's Wednesdays because I don't stream on Wednesdays, so I'm kind of thinking like Wednesday night I'll finish work and then we can kind of just chill out and catch up on our shows and stuff like that.
Right.
Like so it's usually Wednesday or like Friday, Saturday, that sort of stuff for me, but yeah, I find it's easy now when there's a lot of TV on, like during the year, like October is a lot the time when like a
Mhm.
lot of the network television comes back. So I found like when I was watching the likes of like Arrow and The Flash and all these different shows, all these CW shows and stuff like it. It's like they'd all come back around the same time, and you'd have like I'd have like 7 or 8 different shows I'd need to be watching every week. It was hard to keep up with at times. Like whereas now I find, we've got Ahsoka. When does One Piece start the live action? Is that in like 4 or 5 weeks or something?
No, dude.
Or is it soon? It's sooner. It's like
It's this
tomorrow.
coming week.
Is it? Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
on like I
So
think it's Wednesday or Thursday.
okay, so yeah, so for the next like 7 weeks, we're gonna have like One Piece and Ahsoka to talk about on the
Yep.
cast. So yeah, that'll be cool. That'll be cool.
Dude, I like it's amazing right now because when I like at first I was thinking like, it's not like it's probably not gonna be that good. And then
Yeah,
I see the promotions for it, and there's promotions and promotions and promotions. Oda
yeah,
met the character who's playing Luffy. He gave him a straw hat. The fucking voice actor for Luffy came in, gave him a hug, and I'm like, this show better be really good, man. I really hope. Like, it's at a point now where it's like, if this kid is getting a ton of love, like,
yeah.
I'd be so fucking heartbroken if the show like just took a massive
Flops.
shit. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. Like again, I know nothing about the anime, so I'll be viewing it as a noob or a normie or whatever you want to call
and
it. So
that's fine.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
perfectly fine. And
Well,
if
like
for some reason
I'm
it
sure it'll
piques
be
your
interesting
interest,
for you. It'll be
oh yeah,
interesting for you to kind of get my perspective on it when I'm just a nobody here. Like, so it's going to be interesting to
right.
see what I presume I'm going to make a couple of comments and you guys will be like kind of maybe laughing at me or something. I don't know, like but it'll be interesting. I'm sure it'll be fun. I'm sure it'll be
Yeah.
fun. So next week cast we're going to have episode 3 of Ahsoka and we're going to have is it just episode 1 or just the season release altogether? Do you
I
know that?
don't know. I'm assuming it's weekly, man. Like I feel like it wouldn't want to like overshadow each episode.
No, bro. Like I would normally say that, but Netflix don't usually release weekly. They usually just throw it all out there. Let me see. Hang on. I'm gonna look it up here just while I'm talking to you. Yeah, it's a full season release, so it's all 8 episodes are coming out on the same day, 31st.
Oh, cool. I mean,
Yeah.
if
So
you want to space it out, like if you want to space it out, we can. But I'm probably gonna binge the whole thing.
yeah. Also, I might have to space it out. But look, yeah, like you do you, and anybody else in the chat who is, you know, like Andre, for example, I know he'll definitely like fucking, he'll definitely be binging the shit out of it. So I'd say, whatever. I don't really, well, maybe I will care about spoilers. If I really like episode 1, I might be like, okay, guys, I don't want any spoilers. But I've seen the first 3 episodes or something like that. Like, I'll try and kind of pace through it as quick as I can. You see, I think the decider for me will be if I'll sit down and watch episode 1 with my missus as well, and if she likes it, that'll be when I'll know if we can get it done quickly or not. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas if I have to watch it by myself, I'm gonna have to either watch it on my lunch breaks and work or something, or try and find some free time to watch it when we're not watching something together. You know what I mean? Like that's most of my TV time is done with her, so that's why it all really depends. It'll be a quick watch for me if she likes it. If she doesn't like it, it'll be a much slower burn for me,
That's
unfortunately.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is.
Um,
We'll make it work.
and just to kind of give you an idea of like with all the 8 of these episodes. So in terms of what they said in the timeline aspect is that they're going from Romance Dawn all the way into the point where they're getting into the Grand Line. So that's 8 episodes that spans out to them getting there.
How many
Do you know how
episodes
many?
of how many episodes of anime is that?
62.
Okay.
So I'm like, I don't like if these have to be hour longs, and I wonder how much content they have to skip.
Yeah,
Basically,
yeah, yeah. Well, like, like they're gonna have to do this. Like they're gonna have to leapfrog over a lot of stuff, adapt it for TV and like obviously they're not gonna be able to shoot 1,000 episodes of TV, like,
oh
so
yeah, no,
nowhere near. So
That'd be-
I when you said 62, I was actually kind of surprised. I thought it would have been like 400 or something.
no 400, dude. 400's like after Thriller Bark. Like that's fucking
Yeah, but
way beyond.
I like, realistically, at best, how many seasons of this are there gonna be? Like,
I don't
let's
know,
say
man.
if it's a smash hit, 8 seasons. If it's a smash, absolute smash hit, like maybe 8 seasons, and then that
Yeah,
would be like maybe if you do like a season for every 100 episodes, you're still only at 800. You know what I mean? So you're
Yeah,
gonna
but
have to
like,
start leapfrogging it if you want to actually follow, or do they start making their own kind of live action story and just disembark from the manga and from the anime, which
that'd
obviously
be. I think that would piss people off though.
exactly. So
You
that's
know,
why I'm saying
so
you, if you're gonna do it, you gotta leapfrog a lot because you're not gonna be able to cover all of it in live action because like let's be real, especially with Netflix as well. Like Netflix like to kind of cancel shows and like they understand the algorithms. They know people's interests spike between like seasons 1 and 3, and then
mhm,
people start to drop off the right and start to get bad, blah blah blah. So like there's very few Netflix shows that you'll see that go past season 4, season
mhm.
5. Like I think Stranger Things is going to be ending with the next season, and that's season 5, and
I
that's
thought
like
it
their
already
biggest.
ended.
No, I think they're doing one more, and that'll be
Okay.
like the last one. And it's like, but even now, even at that, like you've kind of proved my point. It's like people are kind of nearly fed up with that already, so they kind of know Netflix know to kind of hit a show when it's good, finish it, on to the next. Let's do another one.
Right.
Let's create something new or whatever.
Yeah, and thinking about it now, like in terms of what you're talking about. So if they were to do it season by season and they really want to take care of like everything but also cut corners, then yeah, so like 62 episodes to get from the beginning all the way to the grand line, that seems pretty good. Once they get past like Reverse Mountain, then there's this whole spiel about them having to go and do the Alabasta arc, which is basically like they can make an entire season on that because that's a huge one.
Is there
Um,
any? I know you're a lover of this show, but is there any like really long arcs? Like, is there like 200 episodes somewhere that you could cut out for being filler or less interesting, or
mm,
could you jump over something and have it still make sense? Or no, it's okay to say no.
everything gets it's hard to say, man. Everything
Yeah,
gets referenced back. Everything.
yeah.
Everything. Dude, like
Dangerous game.
the most recent manga chapter, like we haven't heard from Captain Kuro in such a long time. So that guy, you're going to see him in the live action.
Hmm.
We haven't seen that guy since the first few episodes when they get into Syrup Village and they find Usopp and whatnot. Like there's that battle, and then afterwards, like we hear nothing from him ever again. They might give like a little reference that he's like on a ship somewhere, but that's like anime canon. In terms of the manga, they just brought him back in terms of like the kind of like the opening page where like they do a little bit of a sketch, and so like it shows that Oda hasn't forgotten about this guy.
Yeah. And
So
how
like
long is it? How many episodes has it been in the
so
series? Like,
so in Syrup Village, that's probably like episode 12 to 16. Like it's very, very.
and he's
This
showing
is
up. He hasn't been in it since like episode 16, and he's showing up again like in episode like
in like
1000.
chapter 1000 something. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Like
that's
it, they
that's a long
people come
time.
back.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
back
Yeah. That's a long time.
except for
That's
Ace.
cool. That's
Ace
cool,
got
dude.
donut. Ace turned into a donut and died.
I have no idea what you're talking
That's
about.
fine. That's fine.
Is someone in
Basically
the live
Luffy's
action going to
brother.
turn into a donut? Is
No,
that going to
no.
happen? Am I going
No,
to see this happen?
no, no, no. I mean in the show or like in the One Piece anime, Luffy's brother dies basically.
Okay. Okay.
So he
Spoiler alert.
I know, right? But it's after like that's halfway, literally halfway.
Yeah. That's fine.
He gets punched like directly into like the chest area
Oh, like I
with
literally leaves a hole in his chest.
a hole in his chest, and he can't fix it because he was fire, but the other guy was lava, and the guy's lava was overpowering his fire, basically.
Gotcha.
And so he couldn't heal from it, and he
Gotcha.
died. And the whole point of that arc was to save that guy, and he fucking died. Luffy had a like literally a mental breakdown to the point where he wasn't even aware that he was about to die. And then he had to get like dragged away because like he wasn't trying to defend himself at that point anymore. Everything that he did up until that point was for nothing because he couldn't save him. He couldn't save Ace. He couldn't fight anybody. He couldn't attack anybody he tried to hit. They all repelled him or they were all about to murder him. And he had to get help from everyone else that was in that area that had been in the new world already. It's fucking mind blowing. And basically, it was like that point of like, I'm too weak. I need to get stronger. And then you get the time skip.
Nice. Hell yeah, dude. I'm looking forward to checking out the show and having a chat with you about it. I think just from even the trailers and stuff. I think I probably will enjoy it.
Mhm.
So yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
All right. Other than that, like the only thing I have to say is before we got to this podcast today, I did watch Barbie.
Oh, interesting. Tell me,
Yeah.
did you go to the theater to see it?
Yeah, we went to the theater.
Oh, nice. I didn't think
Today.
it was still out. I didn't think it was still out.
Oh yeah. Today, for those of
I
you
must
who are
check the
still
box
on
office. Yeah.
Pacific time or Eastern time, if you have time, go on Fandango, grab a ticket right now, go see a movie because they're like $4 a piece right now.
Oh wow,
Yeah, we went to go see Barbie for like $8.
that's crazy. I'm just curious now that you've said this. I want to check the box office because I didn't think it was still out.
Dude,
One
I'm
one point
in
1.34 billion globally.
and rightly so, man. Like honestly, that movie was fun.
Yeah,
It
it's got a
was,
7. It's got a 7.4, which is actually a lot higher than I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be like a 5, and people would just kind of
dude.
go
It
to
was
it for the fun
fun.
or whatever. Yeah.
It was fun. Like I had a great time. I was thinking it was going to be like some a ton of cliches, things that were going to make sense, or things that are going to be like outdated and whatnot. But like honestly, like Margot Robbie did a really good job. Ryan Gosling stole the show.
Yeah.
Like that fucker was so good as Ken. And
He's
then you say
actually
like,
very he's a very funny guy. Like I think he kind of does the comedy roles very well, I find.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
I will watch it. I'll wait for the digital. Like I'm not gonna go see it in the cinema, like, but I'll check
if
it out in digital
for
for
four
sure.
dollars, I'll go see it.
I can't go see it for $4. But yeah, no, I understand it. I understand it. Yeah.
But yeah, man, like fantastic movie. Like I didn't really have any like big issues with it. I don't think there was anything that was uh like none of the characters really felt like they were annoying. It was fun. Like Will
Nice.
Ferrell is in it. Michael Cera's in it. You know, you got
Oh, the
Simu.
cast is huge. Cast is huge
Um,
for it.
you had Gravik in there,
Gravik, yeah. I
and
saw, I saw, I saw him on a poster or something. I was like, oh my god, Gravik is in this.
like, and he doesn't have a lot of lines. He's a Ken. Like
Oh,
he's
okay.
a so like it's basically Barbie Land.
Yeah.
So like you have all the Barbies and then all the Kens. And then you have like all the discontinued products that they talk about, which is
Jesus
pretty
Christ.
good. Like it's pretty good
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I won't go in too deep because it's still kind of a new movie, but like that's pretty much like kind of the premise.
Yeah. I have no interest in like spending money to go see it. Like I'll check it out though when it's digitally released. For sure.
Good stuff though.
Yeah, look, I think that's it for the week, guys. We're over at the hour and a half mark, which is kind of where we usually kind of level out at this stage. If you're new to the channel, make sure you drop a like on it. Subscribe if you're listening to us on a podcast app. Hit the follow button, turn on the noti bells, leave us a review as well. That really helps with the whole podcast thing. And we'll see you back here next week, same time. We're going to be reviewing episode 3 of Ahsoka, and we'll be checking out a bit of One Piece as well. Enjoy the rest of
Later,
the week, guys.
everyone.
See you in the next one. Bye.
Have a good one.